Because in the Department of Deaths, the Department of Home Affairs, the syndicate sells these passports on. They don't cancel them. So these are valid numbers. You put your photograph on. The gentleman on the street corner says, "What is your name?" You say, "Anthony Coopers," and I'll be Agnes Librand. $50 later, you've got 2 passports. ID theft. You go to the bank. These 2 people go to the bank. They say, "Please, can we open a joint account?" The joint account is opened. "Can I see some ID, please?" Know your clients. This is money laundering. Know your clients. So they show their ID, their passports. They look good. "What would you like the account to be called?" the bank says. "Well, call it Coopers and Librand joint account." "Oh, here's our first check. $135,000. They deposit the stolen check. This is the link between ID fraud and fraud. Identity fraud is thieving somebody's identity. It's quite easy to do. Similarly, these 4 ladies are the same lady. She worked in a payroll department. Every month she was stealing paychecks to different people. She stole in month 1 a paycheck to this person. She goes to the same street corner and has an ID book made in that name. She then goes to the store and spends the check. In some countries you can spend checks instead of cash. She goes to a big chain store and spends the check. Then the check bounces because it's reported stolen. The next month she steals a paycheck to this person, does the same thing. Every month she steals a different paycheck, has a different ID book made, and then cashes the money. This is identity theft. How did Kublai Khan and his Mongols break through the impenetrable Great Wall of China? I did tell you there were lots of pictures. Think like a fraudster. Just think about this. A fraudster is not necessarily complicated. He does the simple things. At the very least, he does the simple things first. Imagine how this Chinese wall is the size of this room, twice as high. It is a structure you can see from outer space. Do you know what else you can see from outer space? The Palm in Dubai. There's only the 2 man-made structures you can see from outer space. Great Wall of China. How did Kublai Khan and his Mongols get through the Great Wall of China? Dig tunnels. This is the afternoon session when everybody's tired. What do you think? Hot air balloons, ladders, tunnels. Think like a fraudster. It's actually easier. He bribed the gatekeeper. Can you see this at the back? He bribes the gatekeeper. There's no need for balloons and digging tunnels and ladders and clever things. He bribes the gatekeeper. Who is the financial gatekeeper in most organizations? The chief accountant, the financial officer, the financial director, the CFO. He bribes the gatekeeper. This is a hotel room, a syndicate-operated hotel room in Johannesburg. You can see here we have stolen credit cards, counterfeit currency, counterfeit watches, Gucci lighters, Rolex watches. This is a swiping machine. We'll look at that in a minute, and a very old laptop. This is a fraud syndicate. This was a credit card fraud syndicate operating. What we had here is we had very high-class restaurants in suburbs of Johannesburg where you went for a meal, you paid with your credit card. The waiter had one of these devices. It's called a skimmer. In his pocket. When you pay with your credit card, he swipes your credit card in his pocket, gives you the voucher, and you sign and you take your credit card back. It looks good. You've had a very nice meal. But at the end of the month, when you get your credit card statements, you get a shock. Because your credit card magnetic information is inside that skimmer. At the end of the week, the waiter goes back to the hotel room, the syndicate, and sells it back to the syndicate member, the manager. He will then, through the software in the laptop, recreate that magnetic information onto these credit cards. And all over the world, the money is spent. Nowadays on the internet, but perhaps he will buy tickets, flight tickets on these, and people travel all over the world. You have transactions from a very long way away. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could buy one of these skimming devices? If you go to that website, you can buy one. Theinformationcenter.com. It's a mobile card reader, $99, probably a little bit less now. It comes with a 9-volt battery, software, 700 card swipes. Apparently they sell these because American businessmen have 20, 30, 50 different credit cards, and it's a means for them to control it. So we couldn't prove fraudulent involvement. Remember the word intent at the beginning? You have to prove intent in a court of law. We could not prove intent, that the seller of these was intending to commit fraud or facilitate fraud. What is 1 and 1? I'm sorry I'm rushing a little bit. This is perhaps an hour's presentation. I've got 40 minutes. 1 and 1 is not 2. Sorry, it's not 11. 1 and 1 to a fraudster. I'm trying to emphasize to you that the fraudster is trying to deceive you. 1 and 1 is anything he wants it to be. The fraudster has stolen money from your organization. He has to camouflage this in the books of accounts. So 1 and 1 is not 2. Don't accept it as 2. This is an Excel spreadsheet. You can see 1 and 1 is 2, but in this column, 1 and 1 is 1 and 1 and 1 is 0. This you can do in Excel. The fraudster can do in Excel. He will do it in Excel. If you format a cell to text, it will not add it up. This is what a fraudster can do. If you format a -1 without brackets, it's still a -1. It will deduct it. These are the tricks he does. A little bit more complex than stealing 100,000 and keeping it in the bank reconciliation as outstanding for a very long time. But these are all techniques he uses. The computer facilitates the fraudster, but it also facilitates the investigator. Key catch, interesting device. This little device is the size of a cigarette stub. If you think one of your staff, one of your people, or somebody you're investigating is doing naughty things, perhaps they're spending all day on the internet, perhaps they're emailing secrets to your competitors, perhaps they're doing anything. You come in the morning and put this on the back of their computer. It will memorize every keystroke they do. When they leave in the evening, you put it on your computer. It will scroll down everything they've done. You can see it here. There. Sorry, there it is. But it's very dangerous, isn't it? Because he can come in and put it on your machine as well. And find out all your secrets and everybody's salaries and all your latest price lists. So it's very dangerous. It needs to be controlled. But KeyCatch, very interesting device. It aids us quite a lot in the work we do. The fraud triangle. This is very important to anybody that's in forensics. I think CFOs should be aware of this. It's stretching your abilities further than auditing. Please remember, in auditing, you choose a sample and you make an assumption based on that sample. You extrapolate that assumption to the bigger population. In forensic investigations, you do it very differently. You look at a massive population, the whole population, and you look at anomalies in that data, which focus you on the problem area. So you're not taking the sample from all over the place. You straight away focus on the figures that don't look right. And then you're looking at a smaller population, a smaller sample. We use the fraud triangle. Quite simply, there are 3 corners. If there is pressure on an individual or a situation, there is higher risk of fraud. Pressure might be obviously they have school fees to pay. They have a wife in hospital and need the money to pay the hospital fees. So if there's a pressure in a situation. Secondly, the rationale is the mindset, thought pattern of the fraudster. Some people are naturally dishonest. Some people, it is very difficult for them to be dishonest. I've been in Abu Dhabi for over 4 years now, and I find the Emirati culture one of no dishonesty. They find it very difficult to be dishonest. Perhaps because they've got wealth. And if you have wealth, you don't need to take other means to obtain it. But you look at the culture, you look at the mindset, you look at the person, the individual. Thirdly, and probably the most important for you people, is the opportunity. Where there is a breach in controls, a weakness in the controls, there is an opportunity for a fraud. Now what we look at very seriously is where there are 3.